Right, we've got a multiple celebrity podcast today. It's all about well, how do we say, the end of an era, I suppose, isn't it? So,
Definitely.
could you introduce yourself, Dave? Would you like to say?
Okay, yeah. So my name's Dave Jones. I've been I was an RGT examiner from, I think, 2002. I started. I did that old LLCM diploma when you used to have to actually play to pass it. And Max was one of my examiners with Chas Hart. So. And I recall having a few lessons for you for it, Vic, as well. So yeah, so I'm a bit later to start than the other guys. 2002, so like 23 years, I suppose. I was examining for RGT.
Cool.
Yeah,
Barry.
Yeah, I'm Barry Kitchen, guitarist from Gillingham and Kent. I think I've been examining for 30 years. So I think it was about 95, 96, something like that.
Cool. And Max?
Yeah, I must be over 30 years now then, because it was in the early days. In fact, you might remember the old books that had like a plastic ring bind around them.
I do.
Goes back to that. And I remember doing some of the exams. Yeah, for LLCM, I did mine at London College of Music. Down in where we used to have the Registry get-togethers. That was a terrifying experience. That was Tony and Chas Hart examined me on the day, I remember, yeah. And there was one other guy with me and he passed as well. But the failure rate on LLCMTD was very, very high, so they broke down these other ones gradually so you can make a stairway from grade 8 upwards. But I was a bit of a heathen anyway. I didn't do any grades. I just went straight in at the deep end for an LLCMTD. So if I'd have done some exams before, I would have been a bit more prepared. But and I finished examining last year. I didn't want to train to learn to examine all the other instruments. I'm aware of them, but I think guitarists need to be examined by guitarists.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So what I thought we would do, because obviously I think we've seen a sort of slow death.
Yeah.
And the exams, and I thought it would be very interesting to do a podcast about this, because just to sort of say a little bit about how good it was, because I think that was the thing, and how what an amazing job Tony Skinner did.
Yes, he did.
Right. And I think this is one of these things that's sort of obviously the people that have been on board for many years, still really respect Tony's work and everything.
Vic, you just gone, Vic.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, you, Dave, you can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, you can. Right.
I've got you now.
Okay, fine. So, it looks like we've got a little bit of an unstable signal from my side of things. But if you say a little bit about the early days of the RGT and how those exams operated. Any of you pitch in.
If I'll go first. Being the oldest, probably in the game. The first thing that I noticed, and from actually doing some recordings with Tony in the studio, is how meticulous everything was. And so there were never any issues with the time, the place. If there was any problem, you could pick up the phone and there was somebody on the end who knew exactly where you were, what you were supposed to be doing anyway, and would be there to call on. As time went by and it went into LLCM, I didn't really have a focal point for the guitar side. And I had numerous problems with people turning up at wrong times, and all of a sudden it was all going pear-shaped. I think that's when the rot started to set in a bit. But as I say, in the early days, it was a cottage industry, basically, wasn't it?
It was.
And everybody cared about everything. The books, excellent, easy to read, nice and clear. And one of the simplest things now is when every student says, so how do I enroll for an exam? And in the old book, it was right on the front page, in bold,
with
all the instructions, the number to call, thank you very much. And now with technology, it's down to a microscopic little link. And most people have problems when they actually get onto the websites as well as to what they're supposed to be enrolling on. But it was much more controlled in the early days. I don't know if it was the same for you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Barry, maybe you could say a little bit about it.
Well, yeah, because it was obviously a lot simpler, and as Max said, it was a cottage industry. You had the girls in the office, didn't you? They was always really useful. I mean, back in those days, obviously, you used to get sent your examiner packs.
Yeah.
Not printing everything off and doing all that. It was just, and then you done your reports, you sent it back. It was obviously very simple. It was everything just worked really well. And and the books I thought were a much higher standard than they are now.
Definitely, yeah.
Even the print, not just the quality stuff in it, but even the print was better. And as I say, even going back to the old ring-binded books, they was all very easy to follow. You knew what you was doing, and examining was just easy. You just got told where you was going. You went there, done your job, and come home. It was. But as you said, Max, with everything done with technology nowadays, everything's going to be more difficult, isn't it?
Yeah. Ironically.
Yes.
It should be the other way. I know. Yeah, but it's. I think that's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? It's, but yeah, I mean, they were fantastic days. So thoroughly enjoyed it. And we all knew each other. We all had a laugh together, didn't we? The conferences were good fun. It was.
I miss those.
Yeah.
Because you would get together with your fellow teachers, examiners, and to exchange ideas. And to be honest, I don't know what's happened to RGT now. I think I paid up for membership last year, but I don't know if it even exists anymore.
I don't think it exists. So I've had no reminder of it. Mine expired in August. I've had no reminder about it. I can't find it anywhere. It was always going to be phased out, but I think now it's, as far as
completely
gone.
Dave, what about you?
Well, I obviously joined later than you guys, but I did still join when it was literally just electric guitar and bass guitar exams. And I mean, obviously, I knew Tony fairly well because I'd had quite a lot of jazz lessons off of him, and he was a really, really good teacher. Kind of really connected with me, like his teaching method. I don't know what, I'm sure he was good with everyone, but it was really, really enjoyable lessons and stuff. And then when I started examining, I did one session with Martin Donald. I don't know if you guys remember him.
That's who I did my exam with. Yeah.
Lovely fella. He used to live in Essex, and I did a ghosting session with him, and I learned a lot from him. And I loved doing the exams. I loved doing the examining. I used to like you guys go all over the place doing them. They were really, really well organised. Never had an issue with anything. If there was ever a problem, you could phone up the office and someone would speak to you. It wasn't like if you have an issue even on a Saturday and a Sunday, you could speak to someone if you needed to. You get dealt with. It's far more organised. And I honestly think that from nowadays, like Max, I finished examining last year because I wasn't really particularly interested in examining tin whistle and stuff, but I'm really, really enjoyed it. But as you guys would know, the electric guitar exams did dwindle out somewhat when the acoustic came in and the rock came in. There wasn't quite as many. You know, if you did a session, you don't do as many. But I'd still argue today that the electric guitar syllabus, if you follow that, that will turn you out a much, much better guitar player all round than anything else. In fact, I think Tony once said the ACM, I think it's called the ACM in Guildford. If you had an RGT Grade 7 electric, they would accept you on their degree course without any other qualifications. But that only applied to the RGT electric grades. It didn't apply to any of the other boards or anything, because the knowledge you need to do a Grade 7 is quite a lot with key changes, modal improvisation, that sort of stuff. It's quite a lot going on there. If you're going to get a good mark at Grade 7, you are a bit of a guitar player. You know, definitely, I would have thought all round.
Yeah, I've had countless students who, on electric guitar, have done something like rock school or Trinity, and they'll come for a lesson. Let's just brush up on some of your theory, chords and scales. Put a chord chart from, say, Grade 3 in front of them, and they don't even know where to start.
No, it's very true.
Don't know where the chord voicings would be played or what scale to play. So all they've done is learn tunes, which is not a bad thing. But when I was doing the electric guitar grades, I would just give them tunes of that level so that they could see the chords in action. And so it wasn't just on the book, but running the two things concurrently, sort of thing.
I think that's sorry, Max. I think that's one of the things that some people lack. I remember. Do you remember they used to do a magazine? RGT used to do a magazine coming out.
Yeah.
I remember writing an article there once about it, because it just seemed that people were saying stuff like, "Oh, you don't have to learn any songs for it, so you don't have to learn any pieces for it." And you think, well, there's thousands of songs you can play with just the chords from Grade 1. So teach them songs as well. You don't have to just play chord charts. You know, it's not. It's not all about just. I mean, it's a good idea to be able to play a chord chart at sight, obviously, but you
can I just jump in there?
Stuff like the songs.
Can I sort of jump in there? I think incidentally, if I drop out, if my mic drops out, could you just jump in?
Wave hands.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that the original teaching style for guitarists wasn't about things from tab, because again, if you think about it, that really tab only really was kicked in from the point of view of you could get books of tab that were good from the early 90s, really. So most teaching was by people who'd worked things out of records. You know, that was their way of learning. So you had to have that ability to dip in and take ideas and use them, instead of just getting a book and going, oh, just learn this. And I think what we've got is that we've got now a lot of teachers who teach just from tab without that big knowledge. And those electric guitar syllabus, the RGT electric guitar and bass, were really aimed at that ability that people had to sort of go, well, there's the bare bones of it, right? This is what we've got to understand. Now let's go and find some examples. Stuff that works like that. And I've seen it with education, that the electric guitar is taught more like a classical instrument. You know, here are the pieces. And it's sort of like, it's a bit of a no-brainer to just sort of go, oh, let's just, just learn that piece and learn that piece, without that extensive background knowledge, is what you're saying, Max, and people turn up and they don't know what to do. They've got no knowledge of how it all fits together. And that's just absolutely essential.
Yeah, I have examples of, I had a student that's doing Trinity Grade 4, B.B. King, Thrill Is Gone, and working off of the music and the backing track. And I said, have you listened to the original? No, where is that? And I said, well, everything's on YouTube, or you've got Spotify, you've got so many things. I said, because it's all very well just looking at the notes and the tab. I said, but you really want to play it in the style of BB King, otherwise the solo doesn't really work anyway. So I just got him to sit and listen, and the following week it came back. It was a completely different approach on. I said, you listen to the dynamics. It's almost every note is a different dynamic as well, which you can't put in onto the chart. It just becomes complicated. But just try and imagine what he's trying to put across in the solo, and I'm kind of going back to what I was thinking of saying, is that years ago in the Guitar Institute, we used to do transcribing classes. And I think that's a dying art now, because everything is online. And if you ask a student, to have a go at working some stuff out yourself, it's really good for your ear. Well, yeah, I can just get it on the internet. Everything's there. So yeah, things have really turned around in the last 10 years on this side of things. But I mean, I'm still busy teaching. That's the thing. People still want to learn guitar, despite the fact there's so much free stuff online.
Yeah, but it's like what people used to say about books. You can't ask books a question.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true with things online. You can't ask a YouTube video a question about what it is they're trying to tell you, can you really?
No.
Okay, you might be able to send a message to somebody, but they won't answer it.
No.
It might be 3 years later somebody might get around to sending a message back. So one of the things that I thought were particularly good, and you mentioned it briefly, was the fact there was this incredible infrastructure that was actually a community of guitarists, right? And that was the point, wasn't it? It was the registry of guitar guitar tutors, and it meant that you had this network. If you wanted to know something, you could ask somebody. And of course, with this disappearing, because it was just sort of too much trouble for a university to take over, it lost the driving force behind how those exams worked. How people found out about how they operated, even found out about them. You didn't have things like conferences, the London Guitar Show, and all this sort of stuff. I used to do things there with Tony, and that thing of it being fed out, the adverts that were in the back of the guitar magazines and all the rest of it. And one of the things that I found interesting is that you guys know what I felt as soon as it was obvious that a university was taking over. It was like, because you knew what was going to happen. Like, we're going to streamline this. And you think, well, you can't streamline something like that, because you end up throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
And they've thrown so many babies out with each successive bath change that we've ended up with what we've got now. But so let's talk a little bit about the conferences, because I think they were pretty groundbreaking, actually.
Yeah, it's thanks, Dave, for reminding me, because there's so many names have disappeared from my memory bank. But Martin Donald, and the other one was Bill McGill.
Bill.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard from Bill for a while, so
No.
I presume he's not examining it anymore.
No. But his wife used to examine, didn't she, for the
Yes,
LCME?
Fran. Yeah. But yeah, there's such a lot. Well, I messaged Tony, actually, because he was considering doing a little bit more recording, and I said it'd be nice to do some stuff together. He overwinters in Portugal for his health, and so yeah, he was saying it's such a shame that so many experienced examiners have disappeared. So he must be really you know, sort of champion at the bit to do something about it, but you can't, you know.
No, of course you can't.
Just to see that amazing thing that you start just absolutely disappear. I think that one of the nails in the coffins was the very first time I saw the new books and the covers, and I thought, what's going on there? Because teaching, I rent a room in a music shop, and right outside, every time I walk out, I'll see the rack of all the guitar exam books. And the LCM one just doesn't stand out as anything to do with guitar.
No,
Exactly.
Whereas all the other ones have got, you know, different guitars on the front and kids playing guitar, which I wouldn't normally, I don't think that's a very good idea, because you still have people in their 30s and 40s, 50s still doing grade 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So it makes the book look a bit childish for them. But
Can I tell you a little bit about
just a picture of a guitar on the front?
Yeah, the original. I'll tell you what Tony did about that classic guitar look that he had, like with that design. I can't remember what it was. I did some artwork for something. It might have been a DVD, or a CD, or it could have even been a cassette, because I mean we're going back a long way now, aren't we?
Yeah.
And Tony looked at the design and he said to me, "Who did the graphic design for that?" And I said, "Well, there's this guy down in the Medway, guy called, well, I just knew him as Bert. You know, Barry, you might know him because he's something to do with Graham Seamark down in the Medway towns. But he used to do for Cyclone, right?" And I said, you know, this guy had done it, and he's absolutely brilliant. And Tony contacted him, and it was him who did all that graphic design work for the book.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah.
So it was almost like, yeah, you know, if you're going to sell a book, it's got to have a good cover.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that.
What it says. It's what it says on the tin.
On the tin.
Yeah,
exactly right.
Very interesting, actually. So just to gut butt in, that Max brought out, because very last Thursday I was at one of my schools. The school I do on most of my schools are self-employed, but the one I do on a Thursday is like a PAYE thing. And I've been there for like 21 odd years, and you don't get as much contact with the parents because the school do the organising of the lessons and that sort of stuff. So a young girl came into a guitar lesson. She's just started to, she's been learning for a couple of years, but she's just started to think about doing some grades. And I've said to her, like, do you want to do acoustic grades? I said to you, you know, you want to start looking at grade 3, because you don't want to jump in at the beginning, because you know lots of songs now, lots of chords and stuff. So anyway, I normally would send them a link, but obviously I haven't got the parents' email address. So she came in last week, got the grade 3 book, and she had the old syllabus acoustic guitar book, because Mum thought it looks like a guitar book because it's got a picture of a guitar on the front.
And they're still online.
All the others, but all the other books, they all look the same, don't they? The violin book, the cello book, and the guitar book have got the same cover. So why would you? So it just shows you what you're saying there, Max. That this lady, she's not a guitarist, I suppose herself. She's looked online, Amazon, RGT guitar.
Yeah,
got a picture of a guitar on the front. Oh,
still there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even the fact they were different colours just made your life easier.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely.
Same now, you know.
And they corresponded to the classical books as well, didn't they? They're all the same colours all the way through.
The other thing that cropped up quite a few times examining was the fact that people would enroll on step 1 thinking it was grade 1.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
A lot of parents had done that, so I'd be ready to examine and start asking the questions, and all of a sudden I've got somebody about to start weeping on the other side of the table. I haven't done that. And then I look at the front of the book, because it's got no colour, they're all the same. Then realise, oops,
I think the other thing is
the wrong exam.
Yeah.
Whereas before it's initial, preliminary, so there was you couldn't mistake really the early grades.
That's a very good point, actually. But I think one of the other things about the RGT, it was like when I first started coming to like the conferences, like one is we all used to go into, well, they were very amusing as well, especially like sometimes with Vic and Chaz heckling Tony, and you know that sort of stuff was enjoyable, you know. But but the thing is we spent the whole day doing guitar stuff, didn't we? Like we the whole day was for, like, you know, mock marking of exams. Some guys used to bring their own students along to do an exam, which was very brave of them in front of like 30 to 40 examiners, you know, to sit an exam. But you can actually learn stuff there. Whereas when like Vic said, when the university took over, occasionally we break out for like half an hour,
half an hour of
at the most, and the rest of the time you're listening to people asking the inane questions that they should have known the answer to in the first place. You know, that about expenses and what do we need that for? You know, that's an email to someone. That is really, isn't it? It's not like something you want everyone else to need to have to listen to before you can get out of the room.
So the RGT conferences, right? If you compare that to what we sort of are exposed to and have to suffer with the LCM, we would have talks on different guitar styles. You know, they'd have somebody like Carlos Burnell come in and play classical, or Ray Burley. Max would be doing stuff, finger picking or whatever, and then, you know, you'd have somebody doing a bit of country guitar, somebody be doing something else. I would always be doing something weird, so we're just, you know, but you know what I mean? It was sort of interesting. It was sort of covering loads and loads of different perspectives, things about music business, you know, how you could earn more money by teaching how to sort your lesson prices out and all the rest of it, you know. So you had this incredibly diverse and in-depth things that really actually mattered to people who were working. Now, what will you end up with? And this is, okay, it's only to do with the examiners, but they tend to be subject matters that are not really covered very well, because you could sit through somebody doing a talk on, I don't know, music theatre or something, and you could virtually be none the wiser when you come out the other end. And the thing that really, I think, bothered me, when you go back to, when you looked at the RGT stuff, people respected everybody's comment because they were all experienced in that room. Even if it was somebody who was a teacher and had nothing to do with the exams, they were doing stuff day in, day out, and that was their experience. Now you've got like the people who are doing the talk about the thing and a room full of people, and it's almost like you're being sort of mansplained the thing that you already know, probably better than the person who's standing on the stage spouting off stuff. And that, I must say, really got up my nose right from the very beginning. You just think, well, all this experience that you've got in the room and you're not using it. It amazes me. And this last few months, and you must have all felt this when you're sitting there listening to people talking about stuff, you know, it's either completely inane. You've done it. You've got probably more experience than the person who's talking about it. And if you say something, and I did this a couple of times, I think, Barry, you were in one of these talks, and I said about this, because now with the RGT, we sort of pioneered, I think we did actually, online marking, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And it was a difficult transition to do, because if everybody used to write things on a piece of paper, getting down to this thing of, well, okay, we're going to put the marks online. It'll look better when it comes out as a mark sheet. Because however good you are and however good your writing is, there's going to be something a bit rubbish in the way that you've written it out. You have to alter something or whatever.
Yeah.
So when I mentioned that in these things about, you know, the LCM stuff, I had two people say to me, different people, oh, well, they are looking into that, doing online marking. And I thought, well, hang on a minute. If you want to speak to people who are really experienced about online marking, we're here.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for how many years? I don't know. How many years? 20 years? 15?
Yeah. 20, I'd say 20.
Yeah, there's your experience. You can say what the positives and negatives, not that somebody else is thinking about this.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Something as simple as automatically adds the marks up.
Yes.
And then flags if you're, you're a couple of marks out from such and such. Do you want, basically, do you want to go up or down on this candidate? But it's so archaic, especially now.
Yes.
And also, I think that they changed the RGT marking scheme to suit their marking scheme, whereas they might have been better to change their marking scheme to suit the RGT marking scheme, because when they took those half marks off, as you guys probably have already, you probably already had, like I did, loads of comments that you'd saved. And so, like, say for example, you're doing I don't know, an acoustic guitar musical knowledge section of an exam, and you get one of the fingerboard knowledge responses inaccurate, but everything's very, very slow. Like, so you're counting from like 5 frets along the fingerboard. An ideal mark for that would be 7.5, because a couple of marks off for the inaccuracy, but also everything's very, very slow. And I found then that you'd have to give them 7 for it, because you couldn't give them 8, because that's 8 for one response quickly. And I think if you take that across a lot of the sections, you can end up being 2 or 3 marks down. And so I think the half marks were better. And I don't know why, like, someone thinks, my method, the LCM thinks my method's better, so you've got to change your method. Why didn't they? I wonder why they didn't look at
why that is,
marks from them.
It's very, very simple. Because their system that they want you to eventually go to, this ERIC thing, can't deal with that, right? So there's a number of things where, because our actual system that we were using for the marking was better than the ERIC system, because it was more, it was further ahead.
Yeah.
They've actually sort of trying to, again, make it uniform. They're making it to fit a system that's not so good. So one of the meetings that we had with this new training, right, somebody admitted that they're changing all of it anyway, that because there were 3 particular systems that they're using. I think there's the ERIC system and our system, and I think one for the online system marking or something like that. And they're trying to get somebody in to deal with, rewriting all the programs. And the person actually said, the RGT one is actually quite good. That's what he said. This is rubbish. So all the time, we've always been ahead of the game. And it amazed me. And right from the beginning, I used to say this to you a lot, Barry, when you used to come over, that they're doing things that just don't make sense, because you're going backwards all the time, right?
Yeah. I mean, when we had that meeting, they talked about doing the online thing. I mean, I just thought it was a revelation. I thought, this is so good, because when I put people in for LCM classical exams, I can't, and I said this to them, I can't read what they write.
No.
And so how can you be advised if you can't read what you've done wrong, or what you've done well? And when that first come up, because we used to handwrite them, as and we didn't have half marks in the original days either,
No.
That came in there, didn't it? But when that came out, I know a couple of, I think, older examiners didn't like the idea of it, but for me, it was just an absolute no-brainer. People can read it clearly. The mark is, you're less likely to make mistakes in the marks and that.
Yeah.
Just, going back to the old way, I just don't get that,
No.
Exactly. But it's the fact that, and obviously, that I'm obviously really into the sort of psychological thing that's going on generally, because that's how I sort of teach and think about stuff, and really what the message that's sending out is sort of weird. It's like, well, all that stuff is a bit too sort of futuristic, right? It's almost like, let's all be like a load of old classical cello players or whatever. Nothing against cello, but you know what I mean? It's almost like the type of characters that you used to get back in the day when you went into a school, like a public school, independent school, where you got somebody who'd been there for goodness knows how long, and it's almost like they're stuck somewhere, in the past, that sort of mentality. And you think, well, that's changed within the school system. You don't get those type of characters now that, music stopped after Beethoven or whatever, you know what I mean? But you sort of see it weirdly, the remnants of this within the way that the exams work. It's sort of odd. And I was talking to somebody, I won't mention who they are because they didn't want me to name check them on this, but he was saying, well, a lot of this is because these people, there are some of those people, they haven't even got a laptop that they're comfortable with, really. So the idea that you would be doing that in an exam situation is terrifying. And these people still carry a lot of weight. And I think, well, that's an interesting point. If the technology is such a problem, some people are not going to want to go down that route of having all the marks online, all the comments online and all the rest of it. But I just thought that was fascinating. But yeah, so anyway, so tell me a little bit now. We've all pretty much stopped, I think, on the examining front.
Oh, I didn't realise that you and Barry had. I thought you was carrying going.
Yeah. No, I sort of tried to see whether, I was hedging my bets.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise you guys had stopped as well.
I'm not sure whether Barry's thrown the towel in complete yet. Have you?
I haven't thrown it in completely yet. No, it's but yeah, still from our conversation that we had, David. So I still haven't. That's why my name wasn't on the thing. I just haven't done anything about it.
You're not a marked man, then.
Not on the boat.
I think we've all spoke about this before, but I recall like candidates, the students that I've had that have entered, they've like come from another school or something, or they've done some cello exams, and this was like back in the day when we were all doing just RGT exams, and they've decided to do a guitar grade, and they were blown away by how nice the examiner was, and yeah, the fact I always say you're going to be examined by a professional guitarist. It's not going to be the same as you, and they're shocked at how nice that the exam was. They love the fact that the examiner played guitar with them.
Yeah.
Like a massively novel thing. That fact, whether they're doing the lead playing, the examiner's playing some rhythm guitar for you, and then so they're made up because sometimes they haven't had a chance to play with that. Maybe a few kids at school and that, but they don't get a chance to play with anyone, only me. And then all of a sudden they're playing with a professional guitarist, and it's like, wow, this is really cool, and the exam helpful, and when you're doing stuff like that as well, as you guys would know, if you've got, I think a lot of when we first, like I say, obviously I started later than you guys, but in those early days, in the early 2000s and stuff, when the just sort of electric guitar syllabus was out, and you're playing along with candidates, I think we've all probably had exam sessions where I think that was one of the things with the RGT. You'd work round stuff as an exam because you knew Tony, and occasionally things would go wrong, or someone would turn up without a rock guitar grade, and they turn up without any music, and you just pick your guitar up and you bluff some chords for them so they can play that sort of stuff. That's not going to happen now with you're not going to be able to help people out. And then when you're playing something for someone, you've got that option. Like say you're playing a grade 3 rhythm chart for someone to do some lead playing, and they're a little bit, they're not quite there for the first. You can go around again. Give them the opportunity. They're getting into it a little bit more. You can be flexible when you're playing guitar for someone, whereas you don't get that option when they're going to be using CDs now, aren't they? Or not CDs, but they're going to use some form of backing track now. There's no option for flexibility in the exams, at all. That's completely gone now.
Well, the last one that I did was in Cambridge at a Quaker house, meeting house. That was my last examining. I've done it there a few times. Parking's the first issue in Cambridge, but fortunately this time I was able to park virtually on the pavement outside. And then you've got to cart in. I was doing ukulele as well that day. Guitar amplifier, CD player, all the exam stuff, just about everything that you can possibly think of. There's no music stands, no nothing. So a guitar stand, music stands, and I'm just thinking if this is, say, a trombone player who's come to examine guitarists,
Yes.
you know, there's no, you've got to bring some kind of instrument to play accompaniment. And I just thought, if I carry on doing the exams, I'll still just be doing guitar exams, because I can't see how other musicians are going to be able to take on some of these venues where it's just a church hall and there's absolutely nothing in it but a plug socket.
Well, it's interesting.
I don't know how it's going to work.
No, I don't.
No.
Sorry, Dave, you go.
No, go on. It's just that because I was what Max just said so true. I actually emailed Andrew McBurney before on the cusp of leaving, and said to him, I don't particularly want to leave, but I have not particularly much interest in examining other instruments. And I said, but because I enjoy the examining, I did say to him, I'd be happy to just like examine any, even if it was like just once or twice a year, any venues that you can't send an LCM examiner to. Because like there's places around where that I often examine here where, like Max said, it's an old church hall. There's nothing there. There's no piano. There's nothing. So they're great for RGT exams because I lug my amp along and the music stands and all the stuff because I'm used to doing it. But they're going to lose those venues now because they couldn't do an LCM exam in there and send other candidates because they haven't got a piano. So there's no accompanist for the cello and stuff. But it's
got to be in tune. Piano's got to be in tune as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But these venues they'll be losing, and they're perfect venues for RGT exams because the examiner will go along with his amplifier and with his, music stands and all the relevant kit because you're used to doing it on your own. But so they're going to lose an awful lot of venues.
This is the main thing I wondered. What's going to happen because it will just have to be centres now, won't it?
Yes,
and do it in music shops or churches or anything like that. It's going to have to be centres.
Well, look at, obviously, certainly, I don't know if Max has ever been there because it might be a bit out of the way. But me and Barry, we've examined when Vic was teaching Hadlow in the venue in Hadlow. Yeah, that was a perfect venue to do RGT exams. I've literally done tens of exams there. But that wouldn't be acceptable for LCM, would it? There's no.
No.
So that's another venue,
The thing is that if you're running a centre, a venue, you could be, as you say, absolutely perfectly set up for guitar. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't do the other exams, but you would have to go, okay, well, I need a piano. And you think, right, okay, I've got an old keyboard or something that you could use. Could you use harmony?
If the accompanist turns up and says, "I'm not playing a keyboard,"
and again, you'd have to, like the Hadlow one, we would examine upstairs. If there was somebody who couldn't get upstairs, we could swap a room round. But you couldn't have somebody lugging a cello up and down the stairs or whatever. It's just not. It's not possible. And also, if you've got a centre that's got, and it's set up for classical exams, it won't necessarily have an amp. So a guitar pupil would, in the past, obviously only needs to bring their guitar. They don't even have to bring a lead because you've got them all, right? But now they'd have to bring an amp. They'd have to bring a lead and anything else that they need.
To play backing tracks.
Yeah, backing tracks.
Yes. Yeah. And also, if somebody came in and, and it's quite possible for this to happen on guitar more than anything else, a string goes.
Yeah.
Right? Well, you've got a spare. You've got a spare guitar. And, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure that you've got everything that you need plus a spare.
Yeah.
In the back of the car.
I always used to throw a couple of picks on the music stand as well because people always forget their picks. There's all that stuff that you get.
Tuners.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, because up to grade 3 you can choose guitar, can't you?
Early grades, if they turn up and they're out of tune and you ask the trombone player to tune it up, well, I don't know how to do that.
No, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a brilliant point.
Yeah.
So you're out of tune for the entire exam because there's nobody there to help you.
No. And I think, and of course, the thing is that with guitar, it's a different thing from, say, like, oh well, your violin needs to be tuned up, because I say, but if you've got a guitar that's got a floating tremolo system or something like that, or something, you know, you've got a lockable system and somebody's knocked the top of the guitar and that string's gone out. I mean, these are things that no one, unless you're a guitar player, knows what to do about.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. So let's just thinking about, you know, sort of how we wrap this up. What was the thing that made you decide, or has put you in that frame of mind that, like, I'm done? What was the thing that really did that for you? I could kick off if you want on that. So for me, obviously, I dipped out for a little period of time as soon as the LCM took over anyway.
Yeah, I know you did. Yeah.
And then I sort of came back on board because one thing or another. But the thing that really, I think those conferences started me thinking, this is just like, you know, I'm not really sure what's going on here, whether I'm up for this. So I sat on the fence and thought, well, I've done music theatre, and I enjoyed doing music theatre examining, but even that's been sort of changed and altered and, you know, messed around with. But I think for me, that sort of stuff, like, there's a sort of, there was always a snobbery, and well, there probably still is within classical, you know, a ranking system of, you know, you play the viola type of thing, so we'll, you know, I'm lead violin. There's always been that little bit of stuff, and of course, when it comes to guitar, you know, I've worked in schools where the guitar has been like, well, that's not really a proper instrument type of attitude until you play, and it's like, I didn't know. I've even had people say this. I didn't know you could do that on a guitar. You know, seriously. And there's that sort of little bit of a, well, it's a bit like, let's just tuck them away a little bit. And that the university meetings that we've had, the examiners meetings, have struck me like that all the way along the line. That they're not important, the guitarists. You know, they're sort of pushed to one side. Nobody's given the chance to really talk about what experience they've got that could really be important to other musical instruments. I haven't seen a single talk like that when we've done these February meetings. So that was the thing. And then just sitting, listening to these other people's training. And then there was a few events happened literally in that last week, and I thought, no, I'm done. That's it. I can't be wasting my time. So that was for me the thing. So it was a bit of a slow burn, really. What about you, Dave?
Well, I did toy with the idea. I did a couple of the online courses, you know, with just like, and I've marked quite a few exams. I found when we did have to mark other instrumental exams, when we've been to the latest few conferences and stuff like that, and the homework, well, you know, the what do you call it, moderation exercises we've been sent, I tend to get the right mark within one or two. I do tend to get that. I was quite surprised actually that I did, but I sort of like a whole stick mark, right? Yeah, that's for me. That's a whatever. Reading the exam criteria as well, but I think a little while ago we had to do an exam where we looked at a guitar, a grade 5. I can't recall it now. It was a grade 5 acoustic guitar grade, and a violin and a piano or something like that. And when I got my feedback, my mark, it said my marks were accurate, and it said that the guitar report was very well written, and, you know, etc., etc. But the other one, comments were a little too brief, and I'm thinking, well, it's because I've never examined them before. You know, it's hard to do that. And consequently, I mean, I think I did say to Andrew McBurney when I sort of said to him, you know, I'd be more than happy to carry on doing some guitar exams at venues that you can't send an LCM examiner to, and that sort of thing. And I said, but the trouble I'm going to have with LCM is, one is there is a place where you have to play some piano. We discussed that with him, and he said you could be excused those exams or something. But I said I literally have no keyboard skills at all. I do not play the piano at all. It was something to do with oral tests in one of the particularly jazz exams. But the other thing is, I said to him is I wouldn't mind doing some online exams so I can build up a vocabulary of comments in my head, because there's no way that I can write for the other instruments a decent report, because the candidates are paying quite a lot of money, especially for the higher grades. They want to know what they've done well and what they haven't, etc. There's no way that I can write a decent report in the time given and just leave the papers at the venue and walk out. Because with LCM, you've got another. They always have a runner, don't they? They have someone at the venue as well. There's always two people. That person's going to want to go home on time, and you can't keep accompanists waiting because they're getting paid as well. So I just didn't think I had the skill set really to write the reports, and I didn't really have the interest in just sitting and listening to people all day. I'd much rather get involved in an exam and play some guitar for them, and join in with them. I think that's a big thing that's going to go missing now, and obviously they're going to lose some venues as well. Good few venues. I don't think they're actually aware of how many venues they're going to lose. And the thing that where they said when they said that sent the email out saying there's not as much guitar exams now. I don't think that's the case. I think what it is there's not enough other exams, and so they're giving the guitar exams to the LCM examiners rather. I don't think there's a shortage of guitar exams at all. I bet if you actually looked into it, the guitar exams probably haven't gone down or up in the last couple of years. I think it's the other classical instruments that have gone down, and therefore their examiners need to start doing guitar exams. So they need to get rid of the guitar examiners. Basically, I think that's what it is. I think that's and it's just the attitude, really. I don't think they've got the right attitude now to care about the candidates. Really, it's just a money making exercise.
Yeah. What about you, Barry?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, all Dave said, is completely relevant. I mean, it's one of my biggest things is how when you're writing a report for a different instrument, you haven't got the vocabulary that you have with your own instrument, and you're trying to give someone value for money, because at the end of the day, they're paying a lot of money. But my biggest thing is, like, when I had the chance to become an examiner, I was doing like classical grades with Trinity and Guild. I found it really stuffy. I hated it. I was just doing it for ends for means. And then when the RGT exams go out, and obviously that's when I met you, and you was my examiner, I thought, this is really cool, And then when I had the chance to do it myself, I thought, I'm not going to be like those classical examiners. I want to be a different, make people feel welcome and bring out the best of people rather than putting them down. And I just see going back to that. And I've said this to numerous people. I feel everything that I believed in is just gone.
Yeah.
Okay, Max, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, the last conference, I think was it last February, and I came out. I was sitting with Lee Kenny most of the time. I think Lee's going to carry on. That's a day I'll never get back, and I just can't do another one of these conferences because I just don't get anything at all out of of it. And as you were saying, Vic, I'm listening to people who have not even examined half the amount of time that I have.
Yeah,
and I'm just thinking, when you go to your exam, don't put your arms around the candidates, almost kind of thing. I think, for God's sake, it's like, going back to square one again. And I thought, I don't need to be lectured about all this kind of stuff. And so that sort of was the final nail in the coffin, because I strongly believe, if I was a candidate, if I take it to the furthest point, if I was a drummer and I'm being examined on grade 8, I want somebody like Steve Gadd sitting opposite me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not somebody, with no disrespect to any other instrument. I want somebody who knows exactly. I was talking to at the school I teach in Bedford, one of the teachers, she's ABRSM, I think, examiner. And she said, I've got to do drums next week. She says, I don't know anything about drums. She said, I don't know the finesse about what's it. I wouldn't know if it's in tune or, and they just expect you to do that. And I said, well, that's my whole argument is, if I'm taking a guitar exam, if I'm doing an LLCM TD, I want a bloody good guitarist sitting opposite me who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And a lot of classical musicians know nothing about jazz harmony.
No, exactly. Excellent point.
Yeah, or improvisation.
Yeah.
No, not a thing. They wouldn't know, whether it's the right scale or not.
Yeah.
It's and I also said to her, I said, I'm not decrying any of the other instruments, but the guitar exams, there's so many different styles when you think, and we are aware of virtually everything. We could be listening to somebody playing a jazz solo, it could be an Irish jig. Is it the right tempo? Is it the right feel? And then there could be alternate finger picking. Is there a balance between the bass and the melody? And there's so many things that we can listen out for straight away. It clicks, like a muted string or something like that. And these are the things on other instruments. You'd be thinking, is that supposed to be there? Because I don't know this piece. I'm a guitar player. I don't know anything about this viola piece that they're playing.
No. Exactly.
So yeah, I just think that we're specialists, and I think that's the way it should.
Yeah.
Should be. I don't know how many examiners there are left now.
I don't think
because we don't have a club now where we get together.
No, exactly.
No.
Right. Well, I think that's a spot on place to leave the conversation, because that really sort of summed it up. But that was great. So thanks, guys. I'm going to sort of post this up on guitar related sites anyway, so it'll be interesting to get. But I'm, because I think for a long time we've not really had enough output from ourselves to say, look, this is whatever. It won't change what they're doing, obviously, but that's
I would definitely go back to it again if they did change. Like if they started doing, especially guitar exams, I would definitely in a heartbeat go back to it again.
It's just they couldn't have. I don't need a lot of examining, like probably all you guys. I would have been just happy to do. I mean, the last since my examiner, sometimes I've only done one session each time. It's not like it used to be. I would have been quite happy to do that.
Yeah, so would I. So would I.
It's just a shame to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I was just really shocked. I didn't know what the panic was about, because it's not as if we're all calling them up and saying, where's the work? Where's the
exactly,
work?
Yeah.
You just wait.
I'm not sure that's not the case with the other people.
No, true.
Because that's the thing. I've got a feeling that it might be more important for other instruments to keep the examining ticking over, because it's an important aspect. Anyway, guys, right.
To finish, the funny thing was that I got a nice email thanking me for my service, and then the next day I got an email asking if they could use my venue at the music shop. I thought, there's communication for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because Tony and the girls would have known exactly what was going on, and so. One hand is not telling the other one what on earth is going on, but there you go. But it's good to see you're all fit and well and keeping busy.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody. That was a, I thought it'd be a good fun chat.
Yeah,
as always.
Yeah, it was nice to see you again.
Yeah.
Keep busy, guys. Right. So I'll say goodbye now. Don't disappear straight away. But okay, it makes it sound like I've done some amazing editing if I do that. Cheers, guys. See you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.